There we go. So welcome everyone. I am so excited to see so many familiar faces. My name is Vanessa Hatakayama. For those of you who don't know me, I am the Museum Operations Manager here at JAMsj, and I'm just going to review some of the things that we've accomplished this year at JAMsj. Could I get the next slide, please, Sydney? All right, so just 2023 at a glance. 2023 was a year of really fully bouncing back from our COVID closure, and I think we all felt it. But we accomplished a lot this year despite all the transitions and changes, and really started going back to full tours and admission and programming. So it was a really great year for JAMsj, and as you can see, we're really active, open 205 days this year. When we were closed, we weren't open at all. So this is a huge improvement that we were able to open our doors pretty much every Thursday through Sunday of 2023, with just very few exception. Some other things that I wanted to highlight, 3,803 visitors welcomed. So that was really great. Over the years, I'm sure those of you who were able to come in saw that the museum is getting busier and busier, with more guests coming in to see our wonderful exhibits and go on tours. We also increased our tours this year, 60 group tours, which is about 20 more than we did last year, and still counting. We're still getting a lot of requests in for group tours, and most of them are schools and student groups. So we're doing a lot of work in educating our youth about the legacy of incarceration and the contributions of Japanese Americans. Another thing that I'm really proud of is our fundraising activities. So this year we managed to raise $32,734 through various efforts, the main one being our 35th anniversary sake event, which hopefully some of you attended and enjoyed, but also through the artisan fair, through our food booth, and also through our wonderful card makers, which I feel like I have to highlight because they are just the best group. They sold 1,161 cards this year, and they made thousands and thousands more than that. So really great contributions there. And of course, we added 4 new board members, which you'll hear from later this evening. Can I get the next slide, please? And then also, again, bouncing back from COVID and opening up our programming and our partnerships and outreach. So you can see we did have a pretty busy year. This year, we had 5 exhibits in the rotating gallery, which was really amazing, especially some of our art-focused exhibits, partnering with local partners here in Japantown. We also has a really great oral history project going on with San Jose State University that I wanted to highlight, which features AAPI activists from the Santa Clara County area. Some of you on this call were probably interviewed. Oh, yeah, see, I see Tom Izu. He was interviewed as part of the project. So a really, really great partnership that we've managed to establish with San Jose State University. We also continued some of our youth-focused programming, supporting the Nikkei Community Internship, where we had a summer intern this year, and also a candidate sponsor for the Northern California Cherry Blossom Queen program, which is really great. And then I'll just go on to the last slide, which anybody who knows me knows I'm all about our volunteers. The volunteers are really the most wonderful and special part of our museum. They really are the life force behind everything that we do here. And you can see it in the hours that people put in, 4,000 plus hours of volunteer time logged. And that's just what is logged. We all know that a lot of our volunteers sneak in on the side and help us out. And those hours just go uncounted. They're so generous. And on top of that is our extremely hardworking board, which we're so grateful for, always behind the scenes, making sure that we can operate, making sure that we're compliant, doing so much of the behind the scenes work that is necessary to make sure that we can continue to fulfill our mission. Our board members are extremely hardworking, 30 plus hours a month on average by each board member. So I can't do the math on top of my head there, but that's a lot of hours. So $11,000 plus raised through corporate giving programs that are engaged by volunteers. 173 total volunteers across the organization. So this includes our remote volunteers, our board members, our advisory board. So it's a really huge network and growing all the time. And because our volunteers are so important, we are always trying to find new ways to engage and enrich the volunteer program here. And these are just some of the ways that we've done it. We've created docent exchange programs so our docents can connect with other museums in the area. We have panel discussions that are just for our volunteers. Fun things like a curry taste test, blind tasting social, which was really fun, where we have determined once and for all that golden curry is the best. So, and then also ongoing cleanup days so that, we can keep our museums spruced up all year round. But we're so fortunate for all of our volunteers and our board members who are also volunteers, who really keep this place running. As you can see, this would not happen without all of you, our supporters, and our volunteers. So thank you so much. And that's it from me. Oh, just kidding. One more thing. Corporate giving opportunities. So for any of you who don't know, and if you are working at a company, a lot of companies do have corporate giving programs where they will either you'll be able to give directly through your paycheck, and some companies actually do matching. And there's different varieties, but some companies also, if you donate your time as a volunteer to JAMsj, your company will donate for every hour that you volunteer. So a lot of our board members do this, and we're trying to grow this program across our volunteers. But it really does have a huge impact. As you can see, $11,000 raised just from people donating their time, and that those hours being credited by corporate giving programs. So some of the companies that do this are Apple, Google. But if you haven't checked already to see if your company does this, please do. It really makes a huge impact at JAMsj here. I joke with some of the board members that their volunteer hours that they do pay for me to be here. So you guys all jump in and give me a raise. No, just kidding. But thank you so much. That's it for me, for real this time.
Vanessa, thank you so much. And really, right, all these giving dollars make a huge impact to the museum. And to really help us understand what impact that has, up next is Lori, who's going to talk about the financials. So Lori, take it away.
Thanks. So just moving to slide 11. So hi, everyone. I'm Lori Cozen, for those who don't know me. I started in the May timeframe of this current year and have been transitioning on from Chica Mari, who was the former treasurer, as well as Ken Harano. So for background, I am a managing director at an accounting firm with over 18 years of industry experience that I hope to bring to the museum. As I come on the board, my main goals as treasurer are to ensure the integrity of the financial statements through accuracy, process, and transparency. This includes key projects of reassessing the process for accounting for transactions, how we account for restricted and unrestricted donations, tracking our grants, managing and monitoring our expenses, and more. One of my main goals, though, is monitoring the financial future of the museum. I'm currently modeling and projecting our operating expenses into the future to ensure sustained operations for generations to come. So for financial results, or a recap of this past year, I've included an overview of the financial results, which note that we're still operating at a loss for the current year, but we do have optimism into the future periods, especially as we move out of the pandemic. And we've seen in our trend analyses that there is improvements in admissions, group tours, membership, and donations. So we're hoping that this trend continues into FY24. This also includes building out our development team. So I've been working with fellow board member Yuki Nishimura, along with Vanessa, to help with that development so that we can get the donations up. I won't go into the financial results in detail due to time, but I encourage anyone that would like to know more information to reach out to me and find out more about the financial results. But this deck will be provided and shared after this meeting. I guess, Sydney, if you can move back to slide 11 really quickly. So for investments, I did want to just highlight that I do work with my sister and fellow board member, Christina Cozen, who manages the investment committee, along with Steve Fujita, Warren Hayashi, and Chris Hioki to maximize our cash position. And so I just wanted to highlight that because they've been doing an amazing job. We've had over $40,000 in returns year to date for the current period, just based on our cash position and them monitoring and being active as a group. From a financial resource perspective, we recently hired a new part-time bookkeeper, Gloria Avila, who's also on this call, to assist with the initiatives I highlighted earlier, but more importantly, also to help alleviate Vanessa's workload. And then from a budget standpoint, in the current year, I've gone through a detailed line-by-line, vendor-by-vendor budget process and solicited input from various groups within our organization, including, as I mentioned, the development team, so Yuki for revenue, and then also from an expense side, just getting input for our annual fundraiser event with Denise Matsuoka, exhibits and collections team with Chisa Matsunaga and Linda Gomi, and then our card makers with Ruth, and then facilities with another fellow board member, Aaron Ushiro. So among others. So it's a process, and we're trying to ensure that all of our expenses are being monitored and there's good visibility. So I've been working to make sure that our budget is accurate and that we are spending smart in terms of being financially responsible. Also, too, from a budget standpoint, we are considering additional resources to assist Vanessa as we have worked as a board. And so along with budgeting for that, I've worked closely with the governance committee, which is a subgroup of the board. And that's made up of Christina Kozin, Michael, Carolyn Brown, and Linda. And we're working to make sure that we're adequately staffed, but from a budget standpoint, modeling that out as well. So I do hope ultimately that the budget will be finalized shortly, but have included within the slides an overview of our general baseline expenses outside of even just staffing. And it's $95,000 a year just to keep the lights on, outside just having individuals who are on our payroll. So it just goes to show that we are in need of additional donations and funds at this point in time, but modeling that out. The last few slides, if you do jump to slide 14, Sydney, cover a system replacement study that the engagement team, 16, one more, or maybe 17, 17, sorry. Yeah, that one. So what we did was we had a study, an individual contractor come in and just map out the expenses from a current infrastructure perspective for planning and how much we will be required to save in order to plan for future expenditures based on our current building, the agricultural piece of the museum as well. And so it just goes to show that we do need to be quite aggressive in terms of monitoring our expenses and saving for the future as the building ages. But I continue to work closely with Aaron on that. So just wrapping up, again, I encourage anyone who wants to learn more about our financial position and our expenses to reach out. If there's something also that you want budgeted for, just so we can have visibility into our expenses, feel free again to reach out as I finalize the FY24 budget. And hopefully I will continue to meet more volunteers during my open and close or store volunteering shifts or at the next JAMsj event. I look forward to it as I continue to build the network within the JAMsj community. But overall, thank you for giving me the opportunity to give back to the museum while utilizing my professional skills. That's all I had.
Lori, thank you so much. For those of you that aren't familiar with the SRP, the system replacement plan, this is really vital for us to make sure that the museum continues to sustain itself, because there are things that we don't even think about: the water heater, the HVAC system, electrical. And through this system replacement plan, what we've done is we've built into the budget things that will break inevitably over time. And so that's what this is really tracking for us. And Lori, working with Aaron, has really done a good job of modeling this out. And then as she talked about earlier, we are running an operational deficit right now because of coming out of COVID. But as we plan forward, we're looking at specific things that we can do to alter that to make us cash positive. And so everybody's contribution, of course, makes a big impact. The capital campaign will help contribute to that as well. And then, of course, going out and soliciting for grants. So all these things play into this, and that's part of the modeling that Lori was talking about. So Lori, thank you very much for sharing that. Up next, what we'd like to do is, it was mentioned before, we had a board retreat. And through that process, we looked at, how do we as an organization want to sustain ourselves and how do we want to move forward? And to share a little bit more about that, Carolyn, take it away.
Okay, next slide. We held this retreat in August, and it was an opportunity for all of us so many of us are new to each other. It was a really good first step in getting acquainted, in also sharing information, sharing our backgrounds, and then taking a look at where are we? Where is the museum? What is it that we want to be doing? So this slide just is capturing some of the words that we heard during that day. Next slide. As a result of that day's work, and we really did hear from everybody on the board, and we were able to, by the end of the day, really hone that down and focus on those areas that we consider high priority, highest priority for us as an organization. The first one, of course, is education. And education, we are a museum, and it's what we're all about. We are doing a lot, but there is a huge amount of untapped potential for activities that we could be doing that will be educational for the community, educational for our school systems locally, and others. The second priority is, of course, the museum. It is the hub. It is the gem that gets everything activated and vitalized. And the third one began as a conversation about our commitment to connection with the community. And what was very clear from the board members was that we're not just talking about the community at large. This is really about our desire to focus on the San Jose Japantown community and strengthen the connections there. And then, of course, financial stability, because without the resources, we will not be able to do all of the great things that we have the potential for. Critical to our success is obviously the leadership that the board will need to be providing. We are a new board and we're going through a lot of transition, which just makes it a little more challenging. It is not impossible. It actually is a good time for us to begin looking at everything with fresh eyes. Sustainable resources to support the mission and vision, and then an organizational structure that aligns with that mission and vision. And we want to make sure that we're structured in a way that will be supportive of both the mission vision and the operational side of things. And probably the most critical success factor is the engagement and participation of everyone. The board, the volunteers, the local community members, stakeholders are all really critically important. The next steps and work in progress, we actually have already done quite a bit of looking at our committees and work groups. We had 26 of them to start, and we have consolidated some and tried to make ourselves a little more streamlined so that we are not tying up people's time with a lot of meetings, but that we're actually able to accomplish the work in a more efficient manner. Restructuring of the staff model, I'll talk about in a little bit, to also create roles and responsibilities that are doable and that support the work. Creation of new roles. You heard about our newest member, Gloria Avila, who, welcome, is going to be helping us with the financial side of things, and we're so happy to have her on board. And then the strategy for creating connection is one that we have already started to work on. I'm working with Steve Fujita, and it's really starting to take shape now. Steve and Tom Izu and I are working on a plan for a forum to which most of you will be invited, to begin to figure out how do we move forward together as a collaborative. And we know that there's some history and some background. We're not going to spend a lot of time obsessing on that, but what we do want to do is figure out going forward, how do we take all this fabulous talent and commitment, bring it together, and create a new we. And so you'll be hearing more about that in the near future as well. Michael.
Carolyn, thank you very, very much for that update on the board retreat. We appreciate it very much. And so as Carolyn shared with us, there's a lot of activity. We're looking at the organization overall as well. And with that, I'm definitely one of the oldest board members, having been involved with the museum since 2010. And this is about the time we actually opened up the museum in its existing location. And so with that, I joined the board, and then I've been the board president for 2 3-year terms or 6 years. And so with the bylaws, we have a two-term limit. And so I'm reaching my limit on that process. And so I will be stepping down from my current role, but I want to stay on the board. So as long as the board allows me to stay on board, then I will still stay involved. Because to me, this museum is just an amazing place. And as all of you know that have visited and have spent any time at the museum, it's a, I don't know how to describe it, except it just feels like home. It's my second home, and if I could put a cot in there somewhere, I'd probably be sleeping in there. But it's just one of those places where you can go and everything else doesn't matter. And so it's a great place to just feel like you belong. And so that's been a place for me. We are looking for replacements. So if you have anybody that you think would be interested in the position, we have a process that we're putting together right now for board officers in general. And so please reach out to us. We are also looking for a vice president. Gordon Smith was our vice president, but he had to step down for family reasons. But we are looking for a board vice president as well. In addition to that, we are also looking for more board members, specifically with experience in law and technology. And so if you have any folks that are interested, or if you yourself are interested, please don't hesitate to reach out. We do have a process that we have folks go through, and the last 4 board members that we've had come on board went through that process. So yeah, we know it works. And so with that, what I'd like to do is hand it back to Carolyn, and she's going to give you a quick update on what the staff modeling looks like. So Carolyn, take it away.
Sure, next slide. What we really wanted to do was design for support of the organization, support of the staff, and then also for success, because we know that there's a huge potential here for a lot of achievement. We started with assessment. Some of that was all of us being new, the newer board members really starting to get to know the staff, getting feedback. The financial analysis was a huge piece of assessment right off the top. And then I also conducted a labor analysis. And, there are some, I'm sure, who will say, duh, why did we need to do a labor analysis? Clearly, we don't have enough people. But there is nothing that speaks more loudly than data. And so before Vanessa Liu left, I was able to do an analysis of the work, responsibilities, and hours of the 3 paid staff. It was very telling, and no duh, we are under-resourced, and that we have people who are right now, there are 2.6 full-time equivalents in our model. The work that these folks were doing was over 3.2 full-time equivalents. So we have a disparity. What that said to me is that we do not have a viable staffing model to support the organization. So for those of you, I know there's been a lot of conversation about why aren't we hiring a director and why aren't we just, moving ahead? The concern is that if we move ahead with the current model and we use everything that we had in existence, we're just going to be perpetuating an unsustainable model. So thank you all for your patience in allowing us to do some of this assessment and figuring out what do we actually need to put in place. Most importantly, what we needed to do is make sure that the work that the staff and the board and everyone else are doing aligns with the mission and vision and the priorities that the board has set. Because of that recognition, what we have, and I put the very simplified diagram here, we have established that we do need to have dedicated resource for not only the operations, the bookkeeper, which we now fortunately have on board, the bookkeeper accountant, but we also need to have dedicated resource for development manager. In our analysis, in development, we were only spending 17% of the work time on development. That is way too low for a nonprofit organization, especially one with a lot of projects going on. And then we need somebody on point for education. And so the thing that we're doing now is figuring out roles and responsibilities, how we're going to make this all come together. We also have to be mindful. We want to have the right model in place because this is going to cost some money, but it's going to be money that will bring us money back as well in terms of when we look at the future. The sustainable staffing model is the highest priority, and I do want to recognize Vanessa for the work that she's been doing, all of that she's been contributing. She's really basically had to take it on herself and has done an amazing amount of work with that. So thank you so much for helping us get through this transition. Managing during this transition is a challenge. We are looking at, are there things that we can defer for right now? Are there responsibilities that can be reassigned that will even out the workload a little more reasonably? And then how quickly can we hire and onboard new staff? We are now in the conversation about hiring of the museum director. Now that we have a clearer definition of roles, we're looking at all the job descriptions. And as quickly as possible, it's our desire to get the hiring and onboarding of new staff done and a new director so that we can really start to move forward. But this next few months are going to be pretty messy because of the amount of transition that's going on. We'll be also defining roles for the board that are more defined in addition to the paid staff positions. So there's a lot going on. I do invite you, please ask questions if you have them about what we're doing. One of the things that's very clear is that as we move forward, we need to be upping the communication out to everyone so that you all know what we're doing and what we're thinking, and why we're making certain decisions and who's involved. So that is high on the list of things that we're going to be doing. And one of the reasons why we're going to be creating a forum in January to have much more input coming from all parts of the community and our own organization. So you'll be hearing much more as we move forward.
Carolyn, thank you very much for that update. And again, hats off, Vanessa, to you for all your support during this time and keeping us in operation. So thank you very much. And I guess what an opportunity. Gloria, do you want to just turn your microphone on and say hi since you're you're online with us. So
hi there.
Gloria, welcome as well. We're happy to have you, and thank you very much for helping us keep all our books straight. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes. I welcome the challenge, and I hope that I can deliver what you guys really need and in a timely fashion and get us where we all need to be for next year so that everybody can be successful.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being here and for your help. And again, Vanessa, thank you so much for keeping the lights on and keeping us afloat. All right, moving on. We have this wonderful, wonderful piece of property that sits next to us in the parking lot, and it's the Kawakami House. And it's been sitting there for, gosh, forever, and literally. And since we've finished construction, it's just been abandoned, and we really haven't spent much time. But luckily, Aaron, who has joined us, who's an architect, has been spending a lot of time looking at this project and working very closely with MBA to help us get this project up and running. So with that, Aaron, you want to take it away?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Just to introduce myself, my name is Aaron Oshiro. Been on the board this is my second term, starting in June of this year. My main roles are helping with the museum facilities, as well as leading the Kawakami House project. And currently, just to give everyone a snapshot, where we are in the design process, we're about 75% complete with the construction documents. And what that means is that these construction documents are eventually, as they further towards final construction documents, they will be used to apply for a permit with the city of San Jose, as well as being used as bidding documents to get a bid from a contractor. So that is where we are currently. I wanted to take this time to go over our Kawakami House program, and I wanted to identify a few core operational benefits for our museum that we will get with this house. And the first one is we'll get additional exhibit space, which we are bursting at the seams. We also have additional meeting spaces, and we also have a additional admin space for our future staff that Carolyn has spoken about just before me. So this is the first floor. A lot of new additional spaces that we will gain for our organization. And not to mention also on this floor, we have kitchen and restaurants to support these new spaces. So it can really work as an independent building. So that is the first floor. Going to the second floor, the main attribute here is because the second floor is considered non-accessible as to the public, the main use is going to be conditioned and humidity controlled storage spaces for all our artifacts and our storage, because in our current museum we pretty much have like the size of a closet, and with this project we have 518 square feet that we will gain after doing this project, and we'll have more ability to store priceless artifacts that people donate. But unfortunately right now we can't accept as many donations as we'd like to, because we have nowhere to put them. So this project will help alleviate that. On the grounds, I wanted to identify a few special function benefits that we'll get out of the house. First, we'll have a flexible space to do storytelling for small groups in that display area. We can have this place used as a corporate rental for small retreats. We have this full kitchen and outdoor restrooms for our outdoor events, like our sake event. We also have exterior access storage, which is basically next to the restrooms on the first floor. And then also for our site, at night it is quite dark. So through this project, we will enhance the lighting on the site, as well as install more security cameras on the premises. So the next part I'd like to talk about is the schedule. And we are currently, and this is forever ongoing, is our capital campaign. So far, we have raised $617,360, which is 24.7% of our $2.5 million goal. And that's soup to nuts. That's everything from exhibits, exhibit design, construction costs, architecture fees, permitting fees. We also have a money in there for a construction manager to manage the construction and coordination. So that is our target amount, which is embedded into our capital campaign. As I mentioned earlier, the phase that we're currently in is the design phase, and we started in August of last year, and we hope to complete it in winter of this year. Again, we're 75% complete. And moving on to the next part, if we are able to raise the 2.5 million, we would then submit for permit with the city of San Jose, and that process could take between 3 to 6 months, depending on the expedition of the permit. And in the third one is, so once we get the permit, then we can go towards getting a construction bid, and we can actually get started with the construction. So we estimate that it's going to take 2 months to bid it, along with the contract execution and a construction of 12 months. So that is the project status, and I'll give it back to Michael.
Aaron, thank you very much for that comprehensive overview. Appreciate it. Yeah, things look great, and now all we need to do is raise the capital. And speaking of capital, a very timely subject. Speaking of the capital campaign, Yuki's going to take it from here. And Yuki, you want to share the capital campaign plans? Thank you.
Yes, definitely. So I know I earlier introduced myself, but my name is Yuki and I am a board member. I've only been here for about a few months, so still kind of learning the ropes on this. But in terms of my background, I am a development and outreach manager at Human Rights Watch, which is another nonprofit. We work internationally to fundraise for the organization. And so I was brought on and we're trying to build the foundations of the development side of the museum. So in terms of fundraising, there's two really main elements to fundraising. There's the science of fundraising, which is donor view. Maybe some of you have heard of this term being used. And it's really where our database is housed. We need to start collecting all the data, making sure that we're coding everybody, getting all those information into a database so that we can continue to improve on our donation strategy. And then there's the art of fundraising, which is kind of the relationship-based aspect of fundraising. And this right now, these two, I'm splitting some of my time on each one to build the foundations alongside Vanessa, who is just an incredible partner in all of this. She has been teaching me a lot about the museum and some of our donors, and thinking about how do we rethink some of the structures that we currently have. What are areas that we can definitely improve, like membership drives, fundraisers, grants, etc. So we're meeting on a bi-weekly basis to try to think of strategy on how to keep our fundraising strategy build out for the upcoming year. Now, next slide, please. I'm very excited to announce, and I know this was actually announced at the 35th anniversary Sake Day, but we did launch our capital campaign, which is a major underfeat that the JAMsj is going to be engaging on for the next few years, and it is to raise 3.5 million. And all of this is really to ensure that we have a lasting preservation and expansion of the museum. And that goes into, the money will go towards not just the Kawakami House, which obviously was part of it, but also to ensure that we have our other like museum infrastructure needs met, that we can continue with our rotating exhibits, keep engaging our members in a really great way for people to want to keep coming back and to share about our museum. So all of this is part of the capital campaign that we are launching. And as part of this, we are also looking at, like I earlier mentioned, membership drives for the upcoming year, fundraisers that will help us to think of the strategy for getting more donors to even just to hear about our wonderful museum, right? A lot of times I think development is also about marketing and really letting people know about our museum. But what's distinctly different as well is that development is about, just like the word is, it's about building those sorts of relationships with those who are engaged and really want to support and give towards the years that are going to be coming with the museum. So all of that to say that we are really thinking about our strategy for fundraising for the upcoming year. And if anybody would like to join the team, volunteer some time, we're more than happy to have anybody join us, but also feel free to ask any questions to myself or Vanessa as well on this. Thank you.
Yuki, thank you very much and appreciate that. What we'd like to do now is open the floor for any questions. If you have a question, please use the raise hand function, or you can just raise your hand on screen and we'll call on you and have you unmute and ask your question. So you've got the entire board here plus staff. So if there are any questions you may have, feel free to raise your hand. Now,
Michael, can I ask if we can stop share screen? So
yes, yes. There you go. Thanks, Sydney. That's a great idea.
Well, don't all jump at once. I know it was a lot of information all
That's
at once.
right. Just
Happy
like a
to,
fire.
like, take any sort of questions that maybe even just don't worry if it's maybe like repeating some of the same material. We're happy to hear it from anybody here. Any thoughts, even comments, feedback for us? This is your time.
This reminds me of, when you present to a class and everybody's shy and nobody wants to raise their hand, there always has to be one person, then that person kind of opens the floodgates. There we go. Rich, thank you. Rich, go ahead.
Sorry, I got in here a little bit late, but I just wanted to tell you how much I appreciate you are all doing to support our museum. It doesn't work without all of you. Each of you contributes so much to the preservation and the building and future of our museum. So thank you.
Well, and Rich, you are also a major contributor, so thank you as well. So we wouldn't be here without you as well. So thank you so much for your support. Jordan, you have your hand up. Thank you.
Some questions about the financial projections. So I guess first a simple question. I'm assuming that all the operational projections would count the Kawakami House donations as like a separate pot. But okay. And then do the projections, like for the operational costs going out to the year 2040, like do they include what the operational costs of the Kawakami House would be once it is operational and incurring operating expenses?
Or I'll answer the questions in two pieces. So for the restricted donation, so if any donation is earmarked for anything, it is restricted. So that includes anything that's just Kawakami, but there's also card maker, like donations made and tagged to card makers. So we track those buckets so that we ensure that the intent of the donor is met. So we spend it on where it's being intended. So the answer is yes, but more broadly, it could expand to things outside of the Kawakami House. The other question you had was the financial projections. So currently, when I model out the current and future projections, it's only for the core museum, but then I'm working with Aaron in order to build out the timing, but then two, just in terms of that SRP study that we did, it only covers the existing museum and it doesn't cover the Kawakami House. So when I build out the current model, it's only like what exists as of today. Then there's another layer that I'm working with Aaron on, which builds out, okay, from a timing perspective, when is the Kawakami House going to go live? When that goes live, do we need another like staff person because it's a separate building? How will the total like electricity, gardening, cleaning, lighting, like everything in terms of that, how will that be layered on top of that? So we're then modeling that out as another aspect of the financial model, like long-term model.
And I don't remember if you said this in the slides, but for the modeling, like how many staff members does the modeling assume?
So
number or variable over time?
So currently, and this is where I'm working closely with the governance committee, we are, and that was part of that org chart that Carolyn showed. but we're currently looking at that, like a ED development person, an education, and an ops person, along with the part-time bookkeeper. And so currently that's what's built into the model, but that could change as it's an iterative process every year. Facts and circumstances change. And then also with the timing of the Kawakami House, just because it is a little bit tricky in terms of it's a separate structure, and having another, and if we have them both open, we'll need it staffed accordingly. So thinking through all those aspects is how potentially the staffing and payroll could change.
And to add, Jordan, another thing too is we eventually will also need to create an SRP to include the Kawakami House once it's built. So there'll eventually be some addendums to currently what we have, and then that would ensure the sustainability for that structure as well.
Jordan, thanks for your question. I hope that answers your question, though. Excellent. Other questions? Don't be shy. Shirley.
Hi.
Hi. Hi. Welcome, and thanks for raising your hand.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of like, I feel like a little bit outsider, but you know, I was wondering, you know, since I play koto, is there, like, do you have rental space or at the museum for, say, presentations and stuff?
Yes, we sure do.
Right.
And if you haven't been to the museum recently, we welcome you to come and check out the space. There's quite a bit of space, and then we also have a fairly large parking lot that we've used for several events, and then also the agricultural area, which has been used for performances because of just the environment and the ambiance it provides.
Yeah, I haven't been there for a while, and I think I'm still a member, so that's why I got
perfect. Yeah.
And I thank you all for all your hard work into, you know, in keeping up the museum, because it is a really important thing to have in the community.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your support and for continuing to be a member.
Yeah, thank you.
Jordan, did you have your hand up again?
Yeah.
Actually, before I call on you, do you mind if I give Tom a chance?
Yeah.
Tom.
Hi, excuse me. I wanted to echo what Rich said. I'm very impressed with the new board. There's some very skilled and talented people, and I know everybody's working really hard. I also know the museum is going through a big transition, as you know, your presentation already stated. I think our whole community is going through a transition, and so yeah, things are really hard, and I don't think they'll get much easier, but I think we're part of a community that's also going through a big transition. And so in some ways it's overwhelming. But I think the museum can really play a very important role for the future of our community in terms of being the providing some kind of leadership to how do we maintain a collective memory? How do we connect the generations? How do we figure out how to connect all these changes that are going on and have some kind of new story? I mean, that's what I'd love to see our museum doing, is being somebody who can help provide that kind of leadership to our community, help provide our community with the narrative it needs to keep going. And so I'm really glad all these people are working so hard to lay that kind of foundation. So that's all I wanted to say. I know how difficult it is to run organizations like this, so I just really appreciate everybody's work, and I'll try to help as much as I can too.
Tom, thank you very much. And Tom's also a member of the advisory board and very active. So Tom, thank you very much. And thank you for your kind words. You know, I think you're absolutely right though, because, you know, I think all of us on the board really look at, you know, how can we make an impact on future generations? Because, you know, that's a lot of what we're looking at. It's sure, it's the present now, but what we're going to do today is really going to impact the future. And I think that's what everybody is thinking about. And so when you talk about what we did at the retreat, it's really looking at how can we be a sustaining organization, more specifically, an anchor for the community to draw people in to not only support the museum, but to support the community at large. Because every time we do a tour, at least I know for myself, I try to schedule it at 10 or 10:30 so that they eventually finish and they have to have lunch. So why not have lunch in Japantown? right? Or do a 4 o'clock tour when the museum's closed so that the people can have a private tour. And then after they're done, they've got to have dinner. So those little things like that help us support the community. And in return, when we do community events, we always use every resource we can in the community as far as, restaurants and organizations. And it just helps to make us all successful. And so that's kind of, I know for us, it doesn't even, we don't even think twice. It's always source it from the community if we can, because we support each other in that way. And they in turn do the same thing for us. So Jordan, thanks for your patience.
No problem. I have another financial question, but before I forget, I want to piggyback on what Tom was just talking about. Tom was talking about sort of continuing the story, and I'm not suggesting that we necessarily take this on right now, but maybe once more foundation has been laid, I think it would be great if the museum could sort of spearhead more projects relating to recording the current history. One thing that comes to mind, I'm a amateur photographer, and I take pictures of events that are going on in Japantown, and they just sit on my memory card or on my computer or whatever. But we could build the history of Japantown, keeping the artifacts of people's photos and stuff at the museum, so that the history doesn't just get cut off where it is currently goes up to.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. It's funny you say that, because literally Vanessa and I were just on a call today.
Yeah, we
working.
have some really encouraging, it's all coming together, right, Michael? Because we were clearly on a call with the UC Berkeley Oral History Center this morning, as well as our partners at San Jose State University, who we're collaborating on currently with 2 actually oral history projects with San Jose, actually 1, and then another oral history transcription project. And that topic, Tom knows too, we talk about this all the time, comes up over and over, is the collective memory and stories of our community. And it seems like it's on a lot of people's minds, and we are growing these really great partnerships that I'm very hopeful can help JAMsj scale to have its own sort of oral histories repository or archive that can house, like you said, all the things that are sitting on people's hard drives or on compact discs in people's closets, and DVDs and things like that. I'm hoping it's sort of a Field of Dreams situation, that if we build it, they will come. And so, yeah, a lot of really encouraging talks on ways we can collaborate with organizations that have a little bit more experience in this than us to help us build that out. And then great partners like we have at San Jose State, who are just powerhouses about getting grants and driving projects forward. So a lot of activity going on in that area that we're really excited about. So thank you for sharing that. We're also very excited and thinking about that as well.
Yeah, for sure. I would just add an asterisk to what you said. I think there's a slight difference in my mind between collecting things on CDs from the last 20 years of history versus a continually ongoing recording of present day events from now until forever. But yeah, certainly you should do both, and they might overlap. My financial question was, I don't know if the board or the subgroup has done any modeling of whether financials can be improved by tweaking with museum hours at all. I don't know if there's thoughts of if we stayed open for an extra hour, that would generate a net increase in profits or a net decrease in profits, or if we opened an additional day, or if we changed what days we were open, or if we changed what hours we were open. I don't know if that there's any initial thinking behind that, or if most of the thinking is just towards large fundraising campaigns.
There's another lever that you didn't mention, but I know that it's being looked at. Lori and Vanessa, do you want to chime in on that? Oops, you're muted, Lori.
As part of the budget process, we have been going and taking a look, as I mentioned, the line by line analysis. So that includes admissions and memberships. and group tours. But in looking at that, we have been reconsidering and looking through whether or not we want to make changes. And I would also maybe defer to Yuki, because Vanessa and Yuki have played a big role in trying to analyze whether or not there should be changes to, let's say, our admissions or our membership. And Yuki, if you want to provide some additional color, but to your point regarding the days of the week, that's something definitely that we could also consider. But Yuki, if you wanted to add more color on the admissions piece.
Yeah, no, of course. Thank you, Lauren. I mean, I think you really said it really well. But also Jordan, great question. I think it was something that Vanessa and I have been talking a lot about our admissions and just generally like operating, like how is it going to look in terms of also like membership. And the reality is right now we are faced with capacity issue, as with any nonprofit, I know, but we do have to be very mindful of the fact that we have currently one amazing staff member, Vanessa. And so increasing hours, increasing days is something that I think we can look to when we hire more staff members, but at this current time, it's not within something that we're looking at, but definitely something that we are hoping to look at for once we have more capacity. Vanessa, did you have anything to add? I know I just spoke a lot, but.
Oops, you're muted, Vanessa.
Oops, yeah. No,
Sorry.
thank you. No, that's really great. And then, also great question. And then another thing that's helping with that, for us to be able to properly analyze that is the migration to new systems. So like Jordan's a really great volunteer. He's so wonderful and helpful, and then smart in a technical way. But migration to some of these new systems that are helping us better collect consistent data has been really helpful. And so one thing that's helped with our ability to analyze admissions and like admission times is our migration to Square. And to be able to funnel all of our transactions for admission through Square. And we're getting to the point by June of next year, we'll have a full year of data based on admissions that we can just pull from through one system, which will be really helpful. And a lot of our processes are like that right now. They're right. We've migrated and we're just waiting to be able to collect enough data to hopefully look at patterns. But Jordan, I'm probably going to ask for your help at some point in looking at all this stuff, because you've been so helpful getting us with some of our systems. But no, thank you so much. And Carolyn, if you had something.
Yes, Carolyn, please.
I was just going to mention, I tend to be the pragmatic one in the room. The number of people that I interact with in the museum when I'm a docent, who say to me, I didn't even know this was here, is startling. And so something that we can all do, I'm always looking for what can we do by next Tuesday? Tell a friend. On the short term, even are just talking it up and saying, hey, there's this museum, this is what's there, and enticing people to come in can begin to make a bit of a difference as well.
Absolutely. So yeah, tell a friend, as they say. Hey, I want to be mindful. We're at the top of the hour. And so, Jordan, I know you have your hand up, and then Bob, you have your hand up as well. But I want to thank everybody for taking time and joining us. And we're more than happy to continue. Let's see, Vanessa, I think we still have the recording going on. And so we can stop that if you'd like. And we'll go ahead and answer some more questions. And you're all more than welcome to stay on. Jordan, go ahead.
Yeah, follow up an additional question. Vanessa, the data mining of the Square admissions, that would be based on the assumption that nearly all people pay by credit card and not by cash, right? Because we're not tracking like what hour people come in and pay cash, right? It's just all collected at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, that is true for the cash one. I do hope to get another Square system set up at reception, but just as you know, sometimes the implementation and training and the adoption of the technology takes some time, which is why we've for now we're just going with one POS system, but hopefully we can get the reception admissions area on the same system, so that we will know when people are coming to visit and like sort of what days and when. and be able to get a little bit more granular there. But yes, that's absolutely true. While all admissions are recorded in the POS, the cash admissions do only get recorded at the end of the day. See, Jordan, so Jordan knows, he knows things.
Jordan, thanks for the ad.
Yeah. And then my new question was the at the beginning of the slides, you're talking a bit about growing the community, and growing and strengthening it. And I'm curious if there's a particular eye towards, like, I guess, volunteer-based stability, if that makes sense, because we talked a lot about like staff, like the foundation of the staff, and making sure that's stable and that we survive that transition. But I guess do we how do I phrase this? Like, I guess it seems like there's a lot of, like, power volunteers who, you see it a lot. And then I know Vanessa sometimes has to ask a few times to get all volunteers positions filled during a month. And so, if one of those power volunteers is, out for a month, then you like automatically lose like a huge chunk of your volunteer power. So I'm wondering if that's something that the board is actively looking at, of, like, I guess, how to diversify the active volunteer base, so that I guess there's more of a risk, or less risk, if one volunteer has to be absent for a while.
Michael, do you want me to take that one?
You can, or I can chime in as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been managing most of it, so I'll let you take it.
Yeah. So, right now, since it is an official part of the operations manager role to manage the volunteer program, it's another thing that's on my plate, which has been, as you all know, it's been a lot to manage with the year that we've had, especially with me having done the financials and the bookkeeping for most of the year. But I am very hopeful now that we do have Gloria here. She's like sitting next to me. She's so great. Who will take over the bookkeeping, that I will have more time to invest in the volunteer program. Because, as I've said, it is really the most important part of the museum to me. Well, the gallery is important too, but really the volunteers, the people here, are the heart of this museum, and keeping that resilient is very important. And Jordan, yes, absolutely. We do have those power volunteers, like Chris Hioki and Rich Saito, and so many of you on this call who are such an essential part. And so when you guys catch a cold, it is a little bit hard for us sometimes. But yes, growing the volunteer program is a huge priority for me in 2024. We did make some good gains last year with that. But again, with some of the transitions that happened, my time got diverted into other operational aspects. But yeah, growing the volunteer program is a priority. And we do have plans to start our volunteer recruitment back up in January and February of 2024, and have a little bit more structure there. But I also have to recognize the amazing volunteers who help coordinate the volunteer program, such as Linda Gomi and Leslie Kim and Chisa Matsunaga. They're all really great volunteers who help manage the other volunteers. So very grateful for that. But yes, we will keep chipping away at this, because we do want to grow not just our power volunteers, but our casual volunteers who come in maybe like once a month. They're an essential part of this too. So we'll keep working at it. But again, I'm so grateful to all of you here who are volunteers, who show up regularly and help us out in so many different ways. None of this would happen without you, and I don't think I would have made it this far without all of you guys pitching in your time, of course, board included. So thank you.
Thanks, Vanessa. Bob,
Evening,
thanks for your
Mike.
patience.
Oh, no problem at all. No. I just want to say I appreciate all the hard work you did, and also the board members in this presentation. It's been very informative. And I think the museum's in great hands moving forward. Also, what I understand too is there's a cot in the barracks room that's available. I don't know if you remember that or not, but I thought I'd pass that on to you.
Bob, you are
Again,
funny. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your kind
presentation.
words.
So Michael will know where to find you after you
That's
step
right.
down from the
That's right, Vanessa,
You-
in the back.
If you hear
Also,
if you hear snoring, then that's yeah.
also, I understand it's heated with natural heat now. Not like the old barracks.
It's double paned.
It is, yeah. Take care, Michael.
Thanks, Bob. All right. Any other questions? Well, thank you all very, very much. And again, if you could, what would be wonderful for us is if you could tell a friend and invite a friend and have them come to the museum during the holidays. That would be awesome because that just helps spread the word, right? And that ripple effect, I think, would be huge. So if we could ask everybody to invite a friend, I think that would put us in the right direction. And again, thank you all very, very much for joining us tonight. Happy holidays, and we hope to see you at the museum. Thanks.
Announcements?
Oh yes, I'm so sorry, Linda.
Announcements?
I totally, oh my gosh. I'm looking at the slide in front of me and I totally forgot. Linda, please take it away. Announcements.
Yes, so of course, membership benefits are free admission. So bringing a friend, you can do that. And our story continues in the rotating exhibit is designed to gather your stories. So please come write those stories down on a post-it, post it on the wall and share it with others. If you're not able to come to the museum, please email me and I will make sure that those stories are included in the exhibit because we've discovered we don't keep track of our story. So as the museum. So please, please, please get those stories on the wall in the exhibit. I have been working on the rotating exhibit schedule for 2024. So please mark your calendars. Celebration of the kimono from garment to activism will soft open around February 1st with a bigger splashy celebration to follow the next weekend. That will be followed in March by Taken from Their Families, an exhibit from the Angel Island Immigration Foundation, which tells the story of Hawaiian Japanese Americans who were removed from Hawaii and put into the Justice Department system here in the mainland. And that will be followed by, in June, by Never Is Now, which closes tomorrow, I believe, Tom, at in Santa Cruz State University, and will be coming to us in July. And we will then close the year with a collaboration with the Pino Town Rising exhibit that was at the Martin Luther King Library in San Jose. So should be an exciting year and many opportunities to come and visit the museum. We look forward to seeing you.
Thanks, Linda. Wow, we have a full schedule. Great excuse to become a member. Carolyn, thank you for your patience.
Oh, no problem. And really quickly, History San Jose has asked JAMsj to participate and has designated a pretty nice amount of space for us, an area at the AAPI celebration this year on May 18th. I think that it is a wonderful opportunity, not just for the museum to share history, but I am planning for this to be a celebration of the San Jose Japantown. So some of you have already responded to my email. If you didn't get the email or if you're interested, please just email me and let me know. We'll be getting a small group together to do some planning because I think it's a tremendous opportunity to share the many organizations and the work and achievements of Japantown.
Nice. Carolyn, we should have you talk about that at the JCCSJ board meeting.
Yeah.
Because in that way we can hit all the groups. So thank you for that. Aaron.
And on the facility side, we are starting our quarterly museum cleanup. Our first one will be on January 20th from 9:30 to noon. So if you want to mark your calendars for that, more information will be forthcoming. So hope to see you then.
Cool. Any other announcements? Great. Well, again, thank you all very, very much, and happy holidays, and we look forward to seeing you at the museum. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Gloria, welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Michael, we're staying, right?
Yes. Oh, where's Yuki? There she is. Yeah. And Aaron, perfect.
Sorry, I'm just
or can I drop?
working.
Oh, I'm a co-host, right, Sydney? So you
Yeah,
can.
you could
Okay.
give it to one of us. That'd be great, Sydney. Thank you so much, Sydney. Good job.
I think you should be a co-host. Hopefully it doesn't all disappear.
Oh, actually, I'm gonna
Just
stop recording.
yeah, stop recording and then just
I
do
thought
the
I did too.